Hi everyone, welcome back to Mindful Rest. Thank you for joining me. If you're really enjoying my videos, then please consider subscribing and liking my videos, as it really helps my channel grow. So today we are going to use my new cards, and this is them, the Soul's Journey. So everybody apparently is here to learn a certain lesson. This is a school basically, and we're here for our soul to learn and grow, and there are obviously particular lessons that people can evolve through, and some of them are obviously really difficult for certain human beings. Some have it easier than others, but some have a really rough ride here. So hopefully we'll get some guidance today on our soul's journey, and we'll pick 3 cards, and we'll just have a look at whether any of these kind of relate to what you're going through in your life, and maybe what the messages are behind it. So let me spread them out so that you can pick some. So just going to pick ones I'm guided towards. Death. Let's have a look. The next one. Success. And the third one, freedom. So we'll have a closer look at these cards. So these cards I know already that are particularly poignant for me in my life at the moment. I've literally just been reading old emails from a guy that I used to do a course with, who passed away age 29, and yeah, I was just reminiscing this morning and looking back through correspondence from him and just remembering him really. So anyway, death isn't, I guess, in these soul journey cards, isn't necessarily talking about human death, but about, as the card says, I'm learning that endings are merely beginnings. So we can have death to the ego, we can have endings of chapters of our lives, and of course in endings something new can come into our lives. And without really getting rid of the old stuff, or stuff that our soul was no longer growing from, then how can we let those other things in and have space for those other things to come into our lives? And for me, the other thing I've been thinking about is the ending of particular friendships as well. Sometimes through no fault of our own, sometimes people come into our lives, and they are very, very brief interactions. Sometimes they're much, much longer, and I had a friend from the age of 12 who was really, really close to me, and she was like my sister, you know, but as adults we're no longer in each other's lives, and although it's really, really sad, and there was a huge grieving process over that because we were so close, I definitely feel like I can acknowledge now that wasn't a very healthy friendship, and so I'm definitely more open to now allowing new people into my life who are more in alignment with where I am, and I'm okay with that. There's a lot of healing around that. And so learning that endings are merely beginnings. So let's have a look at what the card booklet says about the death card. Death is an illusion. It's a fact of life that the body we use to travel the earth must eventually stop working. It's not meant to exist forever. The energy and consciousness that inhabited the body is free and returns to its natural home, but it never abandons us. Learn to view death as merely a change, and everything must change, because stagnancy extinguishes progress. The same is true for a relationship or a career. A soul lesson may be completed, and it's time to move beyond this point of familiarity and expand into new horizons of learning and development. This is a wonderful opportunity to thank those other souls in your life who have shared part of your path and taught you so much. So I hope that other people can relate to this card, whether it's somebody that you've lost or a major transition of something leaving your life, and then hopefully either something new coming in, or we're waiting for something new to come in. And that waiting can be a bit disturbing, because it's like, well, I've lost these major components in my life, these major people and situations, and then I haven't gained the new thing yet. So we just need to kind of trust and put our intentions forward about what we'd like to come into our lives that's going to match us, that's going to help us grow and learn. And I can see from that old friendship that I was talking about that we weren't going to grow together. Like, I was hugely on the spiritual path from the age of 20, and doing the work on myself, self-reflecting, meditating. Not saying there's anything right or wrong about our different paths at all, just that we were having very different approaches to life at that moment, and there was a lot of trauma in her background, which I guess probably, I don't know if she's dealt with any of it, but it definitely did. One of the symptoms was that it did get in the way of our friendship. As much as I supported her through that, it manifests itself sometimes in ways of interacting or dishonesty or game playing, and I was very, very confused a lot of the time. So I understand much more now, and I work with survivors, so I do understand the dynamics. However, it was still a difficult situation to be in, never knowing where you stand. So anyway, moving on. Success. I know that there is no greater goal than to love. And it's funny how success, I initially thought of that as in terms of like our goals in life, our jobs, our careers, our life situation, and I like the way the card actually clarifies, like, I know there is no greater goal than to love. So that love being the one thing that we're all taking with us. There's not really anything else we're going to be taking with us, guys, when we do die, other than love. So, as kind of pat as that sounds, in my experience with working with lots of people who've been through horrendous situations, And you know, in my own life too, realised that of course there is an importance to being able to live comfortably and have everything that our heart desires, you know, and to live a happy, joyful life. But ultimately, you know, if you just have love in your family and in your childhood, then actually that's way more important. That's everything. And you can see the wounding that happens in people's families when there wasn't love. And maybe there was an abundance of wealth or whatever, but if there was no love and connection, then that person may end up being extremely wounded as an adult and having to heal extensively from that. So let's see what the little booklet says about success. I know that there is no greater goal than to love. Success can mean many things to the ego self, but the soul only knows one triumph, and that is to love. When your soul is no longer manifested in the physical dimension, it is a time of reflection on how successful it was with that endeavour. The soul doesn't care how big your house was, or how nice your car was, or how many bank accounts you had. The soul only cares about how you expressed love and compassion. In the infinite wisdom of the universe, the more love you demonstrate, the more you will receive. And even your ego's definition of success is altered. Your notion of how you would be perceived as successful will change. The material things that you thought would make you happy will not have the same appeal. And I think there's some notions in spirituality of like, oh, I don't need, perhaps some people feel like, oh, you know, I don't need money, or it's not important, and of course it is important, because we need it to be comfortable, we need it to survive. It represents, it's a representation, because we can exchange it for anything except that which you cannot buy. So we can exchange these notes, these paper, or whatever they are, plastic notes, we can exchange for food and clothes, toiletries and cars, etc. But we can't exchange it for love, true, real love and peace. And you know, those other things that cannot actually be bought. And they're the things, I guess, that hopefully we'll be taking with us when we transition. And they're the things that truly matter. But I don't think there's any benefit of pushing away material objects, in terms of just having a balance of nothing's particularly wrong. You know, it's all good, it's all okay. And there's no such thing as being one or the other. You can appreciate fine things and nice things and be comfortable, and at the same time also be, you know, really connected with your heart and be compassionate and loving and spiritual. Being spiritual, I hate using that word because I always just associate it now with being having a spiritual ego, which is another set of problems, but we've all been there. Right, freedom. So I possess the power and the free will to create my own happiness. yeah, freedom's been a really interesting one for me in my life as well. I absolutely crave freedom. Like, you know, I guess that's, you know, having felt controlled, and yeah, just really being around controlling people. I think a lot of my early life, I really love freedom, and my whole life is set up for freedom, in the sense of, you know, being self-employed and that kind of thing. I've had camper vans, and just I really value my freedom, and I like spending a lot of time on my own. So freedom is how I guess I have partly healed, and freedom to create, what the life that we want. What do we really want? What do we value? So that's a really good question to ask yourself. What do you want? What's important to you? Because that's ultimately what you're going to get. You know, if you're saying, well, I want to know my true self, but most of your time is not spent meditating or you know, self-inquiring or reading certain things, surrounding yourself with certain teachings, and what most of your time is spent doing is something completely different. I don't know, playing computer games or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with computer games, but just in this example, then, you know, really the most important thing to you, by judging by your actions, is playing computer games, so that you're going to get really good at that. So just being honest with ourselves, you know, and that's okay. Like, I really want to focus right now in my life, for example, it might be on my career, and I really want to make something out of myself and concentrate on my career, and that's fine, great. Just be honest. There's no right or wrong, you know. You're the only one living your life. Freedom. So let's have a look what the book says. FG. So, your soul is open to receiving new wisdom and insights that will allow it to make the right choices for its own growth. Remember, you are never a victim of other people or their circumstances. You have complete control over your own choices. By following your heart and being authentic to yourself, you present the real you to the world. Making decisions based on other people's expectations is not the true path to happiness. You are responsible for creating your own reality. When a soul shifts to a place of honouring itself in its totality, free from judgment, only then will it find its true freedom. Every soul is unique and follows its own path. Don't give in to peer pressure or the urge to fit in. You are the only one who truly knows the real you. So feel free to march to the beat of your own drummer. And I love that you are responsible for creating your own reality. Taking full responsibility for our lives. Like, on some deepest level, like, I know that we don't have complete control, because, you know, we weren't in control of our genetics, and we weren't in control of the conditioning which we were subject to growing up, and those things influence our personality, therefore how we respond and react to things in each moment and the decisions we make. However, so on the deepest level, ultimately we don't have full control. However, we feel like we have control. We feel like we make choices. We feel like we make decisions in each moment. We don't feel like a puppet on a string, and that's really key. So I'm very happy we have this feeling that we feel like we are in control, because it wouldn't be much fun if we felt like we were puppets on a string. And taking responsibility, that's what I find a lot when I work with my clients, that they're unable to take full responsibility. And that's what these games are based on. A lot of the games in transactional analysis, you know, absolving oneself from responsibility, victimizing oneself. It's never very helpful to stay in victimhood mentality, because it's doesn't allow us to come into our full power, feel empowered, acknowledge, okay, I've got to make decisions in my life and I've got to take responsibility for those. So yeah, and much more progress is made, and a much happier life when people are like come into their true power, which involves taking full responsibility. And that's really hard. It can be really, really hard, you know, especially if we've heard messages of, and we've had that, been surrounded by that growing up. You know, maybe people in your family victimize themselves, or they blame, you know, blaming others, like, you know, it's the government's fault, or this or that or the other. And of course we are affected by circumstances and other people, but as adults, really coming in from our adapted child and coming into our adult is really a big step in emotional maturity, and maturity on the level of a kind of developed, well-rounded person, well-rounded ego, you could say. So I think it's a big step, and it's one that we do moving from, you know, teenagers to adults. And in existential therapy, it's one of the things people do struggle with, having choice, having freedom. What do I do with that choice? What do I do with that freedom? And I know, for example, somebody in my life close to me, my family just doesn't take, just cannot handle that. They can't handle coming out of victimhood and and taking on board their responsibility for their life. So there's just a lot of fear and a lot of stagnation, and that's okay. There's no judgment in that's where that person's at. It's scary. It can be scary to acknowledge our freedom and to take a bit more control in our lives and direction we want to go in. So maybe see what kind of resonates with you and what you can take away from these cards and the messages that we've talked through. Okay, thanks for joining me, everyone. I'll see you very soon, and take care. Much love to you. Bye for now.